Do you remember the time where Formula One wasn't full of the bullshit? Um, you have to go back quite a long way, to be fair, to find that moment. But I do remember a time where Martin Brundle and David Croft actually told more of the truth regarding driving standards and driving manoeuvres. Because in 2021, we saw numerous occasions where Max Verstappen gave it the full send up the inside or round the outside even on Lewis Hamilton, and every time it was validated. Every time, oh, Max did nothing wrong there. There's nothing wrong with that. Or Karun Chandok would say, oh, and Max just chucks it up the inside and it's understeer, 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 and out the other side. Well, look, that's not the truth of it. Okay, let's look at this one and let's see what they used to say about driving incidents. Singapore 2019, I've just come across this one when I'm just preparing to do my analysis of what Michael Massey did at the Singapore Grand Prix. But let's have a look.
Medium tyre for the entirety of this race, and he's trying to defend against Daniel Ricciardo.
So if we go back a few seconds, we'll see what of this we can see. Daniel Ricciardo putting in the move to try and take
turn
position.
5, and he's passed the Alfa Romeo that is.
So he's there. He's pulled out, so he's the yellow car on the far right of the screen. He's behind him clearly at this stage. Okay, they're coming into the braking zone in the corner.
Been using the medium tyre for the entire.
Okay, now he's entitled to be there, but what he's got to do is still on exit of this corner, leave the car that he's trying to overtake enough space. These two cars are going round this corner side by side. Okay, this car has got a right to be here. Daniel Ricciardo's got to leave him space.
Entirety of this race, and he's trying to defend against.
So what's he done? He's put the throttle on, his back end's kicked out, and it smacked the front of Giovinazzi's car.
Daniel Ricciardo, and they contact at turn 7, and Giovinazzi comes off worst.
Okay, now they will do a replay of this, and you'll hear what Brundle and Crofty actually say.
And you hope that there's no damage on either. Giovinazzi now has another Renault right behind him.
I'm to stop it again, because otherwise, if I just play continuous footage, F1 TV will claim copyright on it.
Lando Norris, who we haven't mentioned for quite a while, is running in 10th place.
Impressive if Ricciardo hasn't got right rear puncture or damage. He has.
Okay, so in doing so, that contact caused Ricciardo to have damage.
He has.
So Ricciardo,
You can see him slowing down now.
making the move, it got a little bit too close for Giovinazzi, and he's now
He got a little bit too close.
dropping back down the field as well, which is a huge shame for a man who's put up some brilliant overtakes so far this afternoon.
Right, let's have a listen to how they describe his move.
His finest. That was a bit clumsy, that one.
Right there.
Cyril Abiteboul watches
It
the
wasn't
field
his
as well, which
finest.
is a huge shame for a man who's put up some brilliant overtakes so far this afternoon.
It wasn't his finest. That was a bit clumsy, that one.
It wasn't his finest. That was a bit clumsy, that one. Okay, that was Brundle. A bit clumsy, that one.
Cyril Abiteboul watches on from the Renault pit wall. Let's just have a little look here from Ricciardo's perspective.
Let's have a look. Right, you heard. If you listen to the engine, he's changing down. This is the braking zone for the corner. Let's play it and listen.
So far this afternoon.
It wasn't his finest. That was a bit clumsy, that one.
Cyril Abiteboul watches
Okay, listen.
on from the Renault pit wall. Let's just have a little look here from Ricciardo's perspective.
You can hear the down changing. They're down changing because they're in the braking zone for the corner. He's behind at the braking zone for the corner. He sent it late. Okay?
Sees a gap and he goes through it. That's what Ricciardo does.
See a gap and you go for it. Okay, fine. But that doesn't entitle you to that corner. You have to leave room for the other competitor that's on track that has also got a right to the track route at that corner.
Does.
Bang. Now, what you didn't see in 2021 was those collisions. And the reason you didn't see those collisions is because Lewis Hamilton avoided those collisions. Lewis Hamilton has the senses of a Jedi. He was able to sense that Max Verstappen was there, sending it, and Lewis Hamilton kept his car out of harm's way. Okay, that is the reason you did not see collisions. Any other driver, they would have been collisions. Because the majority of drivers, even though the Formula One drivers are the elite of the elite, unless obviously they're not, because maybe they're only in Formula One because Daddy was a Formula One racer or Daddy's a billionaire. You know, this is a sport where we're led to believe that it's the elite of the elite that get to the top, where actually there's a few that are like that. A few are the elite. A few are very good. Don't get me wrong. You still have to have the ability at that level, but there's some that just are in there because Daddy was a Formula One racer or Daddy's a billionaire, and that shunts them well above others which have greater talent. That's the nature of this show. That is Formula One. But I digress. Let's talk about the state of this overtake. You didn't see the collision, but actually the driving manoeuvre is got the same level of rashness and danger to it. You shouldn't be penalised on the outcome. You should be penalised on the action. So just because the driver that would have been hit managed to avoid it shouldn't mean that the driver guilty of the rash, dangerous driving avoids penalty for driving like that just because, oh, well, the other guy moved out of the way, so there's no penalty. But Red Bull, Christian Horner said, we call that let them race. No, chucking your car around, throwing it at another car is not let them race. That is still dangerous. Just because the other driver is that good that they can avoid it, and actually most other drivers in the field aren't good enough and actually they shouldn't have to avoid it. They shouldn't have to jump out of the way to avoid a collision from a dangerous driver. They shouldn't have to. Okay? But Hamilton was that good that he did. Hamilton had the pragmatism, the experience of a champion. But he said, rather than risk getting taken out here, rather than risk damage to my car, rather than risk a puncture, dropping me out of contention, dropping me out of the race, I'll move out of the way, I'll stay in the race, and I'll keep racing with the intent of trying to gain that place back later on and collect as many points at each event as possible, because ultimately that is what is going to win you the world champion, the world championship, the person who collects the most points. Let's see if they've got anything else to say.
Okay, either puncture or something.
Oh, FIA Race Control are actually investigating this one. The FIA are investigating this. Was this any worse than what we saw take place in 2021? Those incidents involving Hamilton and Verstappen that Karun Chandhok himself did a breakdown of when we got to Abu Dhabi, that breakdown that I've identified and exposed Karun Chandhok for what he did.
High speed 14, please. And yes, you have a puncture.
Bang. There's the replay of it. Where is Giovinazzi got to go? Where has he got to go? He'd have had to steer off track to avoid that collision. That's not okay.
Well, there was space there, but not at the speed Ricciardo was arriving at.
Yeah.
There you go, Crofty. There was space there, but not at that speed. Not when you chuck it into a corner there's not. Not okay. Dangerous driving.
It was an opportunist overtake, and Giovinazzi has got nowhere to go.
Oh, really, Martin? He's got nowhere to go. Okay? But you didn't say that about Lewis Hamilton, did you? Instead, you were just praising Max. You were just praising Max all 2021.
He'll get some oversteers. He picks up the throttle and kind of punches him off the road.
So I'm going to pause this video here and let's see what the FIA decided about that overtake. Well, I did have a look, and it doesn't appear that Daniel Ricciardo got penalised for that late lunge. Various cars were penalised for incidents in that race. I'm not going to go into any of them at the moment. There'll be a time and a place for all of that. But there's various summons for different cars involved in different incidents at that event. I might have missed it. He might have been penalised, but I don't think he was. But you know what? We can have a look, because we can look on the FIA website and we can go season by season. There you go, dating all the way back to 2019. Okay. Why it's only 19, 22 and 23 on there at the moment. Why is 20 and 21 not showing? I really don't know. Or maybe that was just because it's a Singapore Grand Prix that's being selected. And we can go to all the events in the FIA Formula 1 World Championship, and we can get the FIA documents from each of them events telling us who was penalised for what offence. So, Max fans, guess what I do when I find out my facts? Maybe you should go away and have a look at some of these documents and then come back to me and talk me through Bahrain that you keep talking about. Anyway, that's just a little bit of homework for you, because I know you'll do that. I'm going to just show you this one before getting into my Michael Massey video. So, again, this might be blocked, so I'm putting it on this video just because if it gets blocked, it gets blocked. In this race, the Singapore 2019 Grand Prix, the only lapped car was Carlos Sainz, who nearly got taken out early on in the race and lost a lot of time. Anyway, here's the orange dot at the back of the bunched pack at turn 7. Not the last runner in the race, because you've got Giovinazzi here, you've got Ricciardo here, Kubica here, Grosjean, and then Sainz is here, you see. So they're going to release him now. Let's have a look through what they do and listen. Have a listen to what Brundle and Crofty say. 2019.
Opening lap and suffered a bit of aerodynamic damage. That's why he's a lap down and running in 19th. And we've had an Alfa Romeo.
So this is Sainz's orange dot. You'll see it move through the pack very shortly.
Lead the race as well. And if I can remember any more, I'll tell you later.
Sebastian Vettel won part 1 of this Grand Prix, and we're about to enter part 2. When it really matters, when they hand the prizes out.
What have we got? Lap 38.
So see that orange dot start moving through the pack?
Yeah, we're not going to get going just yet, by the way, because Carlos Sainz can overtake a few cars and unlap.
So there you go, quite simple, no drama. We're not going to get going just yet, because Carlos Sainz is going to overtake a few cars. Now, where he was he interfering with the race between the leaders of that race? Don't think he was he? Okay, I don't think he was, because he was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's at least 13, 14 cars back, maybe 15 cars back. So he wasn't interfering with the race between the leader, was he? A lap down, 15 cars back. That's not interfering with the race between the leaders, is it? No, it's not. Because some of you will get that answer wrong. No, it's not. But he's released.
Lap himself. We've got 47 minutes pretty much on our clock.
So there was no real issue with that. Crofty simply explains this is what he's going to do.
And we have got, what, 20, 22, 23 laps to go.
No dramas.
40 cents, so we should get all 61 laps in. Ferrari will be hoping for about another 7 laps behind the safety car.
Okay, they're hoping for laps behind the safety car. Some teams see this as a benefit. We're not hyping up the drama as to how long will they wait? When are we going to see this racing lap? And it's just like, well, it's a bit of time behind the safety car, isn't it?
And then we'll just go to a 2-hour time limit, which will help them because they pitted before Mercedes.
I think it's optional letting the lap cars through.
You think wrong, Martin? You keep saying the same old bullshit, okay? But what you're doing, you're conditioning a narrative, okay? I think it's optional. Where does it say, in the rules and regulations of the sport, take me to the section where it says optional rules and regulations. You don't see that section because there isn't one. So stop coming out with the bullshit. I think it's optional. It's not optional. It's one of the regulations. It's there for a purpose. So stop giving people the bullshit. Optional, might you?
Rather than mandatory. There's only one of them in Carlos Sainz, who had the early issues, of course.
Yeah. The trouble is he is going to have to come through because he's just in front of Valtteri Bottas at the moment.
He is now, because he's been making his way through quite a lot of cars, and then they give him time to get away. There he is in the orange.
And then they give him time to get away. So you do know that, Martin. So you present, I don't think it's mandatory. I think it's optional, which is absolute complete lie. But then you do say, well, they give him time to get away, right? Okay.
McLaren down there to get up the road. I don't think they'll wait the full amount of time to let him catch the pack back up on this long.
Because you've seen that happen several times, but you're suggesting you don't think they'll wait for that period. There's a clear and simple explanation that you never give. That clear and simple explanation is something that I give. Why am I capable of that? And you, Martin Brundle, the expert of the sport, not capable of doing that? Why is that?
Long circuit. Sainz is now clear, and he can go. Unfortunately, it looks like we've got another lap of safety car then.
Unfortunately, we've got another lap of safety car. Why would that be, Martin? That would be because the regulations state that that is what you have to do. Once the last lapped car has passed the leader and the safety car will return to the pits at the end of the following lap. So why in commentary are you chatting bullshit, speculating with conjecture about the things that you think that may happen this way, may happen that way, could be optional, doesn't have to happen this way? Utter lies. It's quite simple, right? Quite simple, and for simplistic reasons, which you will present as getting them out of the way of the race between the leaders, when clearly he wasn't in the way of the race between the leaders, being 15 cars back, okay? But he's released for sporting fairness, okay? He's released so that he gets a similar chance of being in a similar position to all of the other cars which have been allowed to bunch up and close the gaps on the competitors in front of them. Okay? And not lose time on the competitors that he may or may not have previously been able to challenge. That a safety incident doesn't cause drivers to lose out. Now, when you'll see in my Michael Massey presentation, yes, he was hugely benefited, but that is the purpose of the rules and the regulations. That is what they are there for, not for the reasons you describe. You are guilty of feeding people misinformation. That misinformation has conditioned people to accept Abu Dhabi. But we'll see what goes on.
But that plays into the hands, I would say, of Ferrari, of anybody. Because anything they can do to extend the life of these tyres.
That plays into the hands of Ferrari. But because the rules were not followed, okay, didn't play into the hands of Mercedes, who made their pit strategy in accordance with the rules of the sport. And therefore that race should have ended behind the safety car in Abu Dhabi. In fact, rather than play into their hands, which was the correct decision, they were completely disadvantaged. They were completely shafted by what was done. Lewis Hamilton was completely shafted by what was done. The only person that it played into the hands of was Max Verstappen, because they cheated, they broke the rules to present him with that opportunity knowing full well his car was in a much superior position, being on them fresh soft tyres, for him to win that race. That is called fixing it. That is called fixing it. I'm going to just chunk this forward to see where Sainz actually gets by the time we go racing again.
A third Spa, he'd be the most 5 times in there, and proving order. Great
Ferraris with time to get away.
These guys ahead got over 20 laps.
So you can see the field fully bunched. Look at the spaces between all of the field, all in the correct race order, about half a second between each competitor. Sainz is back here. He's still making his way around. But if you go back to the start of this safety incident, you'll see exactly how far behind Sainz was. And actually, he's going to be closer to the competitor in front of him, Grosjean, than he was prior to the safety incident. Okay, so ultimately, Sainz has still benefited. He's not had the same benefit as everybody else, but he still ends up closer to the car in front of him than he previously was. Okay, that is the race director's discretion, where he can say, I don't have to keep the safety car circulating any longer. I've not disadvantaged this driver due to the deployment of the safety car.
Over 20 laps to do on tyres that are a bit marginal until the safety car came out. Under the grandstand they go.
We're stalling the engine shortly. It's going so slow. It's Vettel's prerogative. He can go when he wants to, and that's now.
And he has. And
Okay, so the race resumes when they cross the start-finish line, and that is the race order. That's how close they all are together, and this is where Sainz is. Watch out for my next video, Michael Massey's safety car basics part 3, and you'll see where Sainz was prior to George Russell crashing. Thanks for watching. See you soon.